Hello everyone. In this video, I shall tell you how to write the summary, conclusions, and recommendations for your thesis, and what is the structure for that in two formats. So this is format one, as requested by my audience. But before I start, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So in this case, summary, conclusion, and recommendations. First, give a brief intro of what the topic is, and the intro should be different from what was given in the chapters. Then the review of literature, a brief review of literature, because you've already given the review. So in the summary chapter, you'll give the review. You'll write the review segregated into four parts, and part one deals with the first objective, second and third and fourth objective. Suppose there are four objectives, and academic researchers are of the view that, right? So here you'll mention simply the name of the studies you've reviewed for the first objective. Then you'll mention that due to the review says that although studies have been done on the specific objective, but something was missing. So but very few of them have attempted to do the thing I've done. So in that case, what will happen is you'll justify that the review for the first objective says this, and what was missing and what I have done. And similar will be done for all the objectives. You'll just mention the name of the authors here in the conclusion chapter, because you've given the detailed review in your previous chapters in the thesis. Then you'll say that therefore, in spite of the fact that a huge body of literature, after giving the review of the name of the authors for all 4 or 5 objectives that you have, you'll write down that although there is a huge body of literature, but only a few studies have covered what I'm going to cover. So my study is filling the gap by analyzing. That is here you'll mention your own objectives, right? The main objective, that is the title of the thesis, shall be mentioned here. Then you move on to database and research methodology. The first component will be the objective, the overall objective, that is the title of the thesis, and specific objectives, that is 4 or 5 objectives that you have. Here you can insert them by putting bullets. Then next is sources of data collection. Primary sources, secondary sources. If it is a questionnaire, you'll write it in this form, that various sections of the questionnaire, 5 sections were there, and you've dealt with them in which manner. So section 1 and 2 dealt with the first and the second objective. In my case, the section 1 and 2 dealt with the first objective only, because it was subdivided into 2 portions. Then section 3 dealt with the second objective. And also I've written in this that what I intended to examine with the help of the questionnaire, and how the statements were framed. They were framed on the basis of review of literature and based on recommendations. And the statements, the questionnaire, the part of the questionnaire, it was covering various awareness. So it was on a 5-point scale. Section 3, so here you'll be describing your questionnaire. Then section 6, 3, 4, 5, and then you come to 6, suppose, and then here you can ask about the demographics, where I'll say that I've asked in section 6 of the questionnaire. So we are describing a questionnaire here now in database and research methodology. So I'll write down that I've asked about the demographics in section 6. Then sample selection. As far as sample selection is concerned, you'll write it in database and research methodology. So you'll write that the data was collected from a sample of so and so, the number, using a well-structured questionnaire from the major cities of which place, using which technique, and for the present study, who is, for example, I'm taking e-tourism or I'm taking e-banking. So who were my customers, or what is the meaning of e-banking and e-tourism? So here you'll give the definition of your study, what is the meaning of the concept. Then analytical techniques employed. Here you'll mention the name of the techniques. And then the next part is hypothesis development. Here you'll lay down the hypothesis for all the objectives, no significant difference or no significant relation between so and so, because we generally reject the null hypothesis. And rejecting the null hypothesis or accepting the null hypothesis, that is how it is done. So it is null hypothesis, no significant difference. Then findings is the next portion. So the findings, you'll lay down the findings for each objectives by giving bullets. So whatever you found, for example, I found the value of beta for a specific variable, so I'll mention each value by putting bullets. For this variable I got this value, for this variable I got this value, whether it was significant, insignificant, whether it was negative or it was positive. So I'll mention everything in this case and the overall finding for each objective. So for objective 1, 2 and so on. Then I'll come to the recommendations of the study, the recommendations based upon these findings. Implications. Now I've already discussed in my previous video that the recommendations and implications are two different things. Recommendations are what you directly derive from your study, and implications are what you indirectly get from your study. So implications is what you imply. For example, I'm writing that say in e-tourism, the customer has there's a cervical swell, and the reliability is an important variable. So reliability of the website is important for the customer. So that is the recommendation, that the website should be reliable, the information lying on the website should be reliable. But implication is that I would write that it implies that the information, although the information is reliable, but the customer, it will imply for the customer that it should go to a website which is a company specific website or an authentic website or only the company website if you want to rely on the information. So the recommendation is for the company that they should give reliable information to the customer, and implications is for the customer that they should not rely on information from XYZ sources but on company sources only. So what you derive indirectly from the findings. So recommendations are direct, implications are indirect. Limitations of the study, what is left to be done, what has not been done. And in terms, say I've taken 400 respondents, I could have taken more respondents. I have covered 4 cities, I could have covered more cities. So these are the limitations. And scope for future research is what you can do in future. It is related to limitations. Suppose I've covered only 4 cities, I could cover more cities, or I could cover a different region. So your scope will be that now you can cover the whole of India, or you can make a comparison of 2 states. So that is the scope for future research. So this is how we write the summary, conclusions and recommendations. So this is one format. I'll also be discussing the second format of writing the summary, conclusions and recommendations. So stay tuned, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and keep watching, and thanks for watching.